A few weeks ago, I recorded an episode called Why Making Mom Friends Feels So Hard. And that entire episode was actually inspired by a family we met at a 4th of July event. What struck me was that this friendship felt different. We didn't just talk because our kids were standing in line together. We actually had things in common. Strange, right? We talked about life, we helped each other, and we enjoyed being around each other. And it made me realize how much of our social lives as moms are built around our children. Well, today I am blessed with the opportunity to have the other mom from that story here with me. So, today I've got Laura, who recently moved with her family from Canada to Texas. And I thought this would be such an interesting conversation because she's basically had to build an entire community from scratch and in a very short amount of time, let me just tell you. So, welcome back to another episode of Struggle and Strength Moms Balancing It All with Nikki. Today, we're talking about friendship, motherhood, identity, and why moms need people in their lives who know them as more than just somebody's mom. So, Laura, before we get into friendship, tell everyone a little bit about you. Who is Laura beyond being a wife and a mom?
Oh, wow. So straight into identity. I love
Straight
this.
into it.
So I find that for me personally with identity is trying not to attach your identity to any one thing because you'd be surprised how fragile it can be. So I've
Mhm.
always loved architecture. And I just in my childhood, I was like, I'm going to be an architect. And then it felt like it was something that always called me, but I never quite got there. I was growing up in a small town. There's no like big architecture firms in small town Ontario. And so what I did was I found the industry that was the most booming, that was oil and gas, and I brought the little bit of architecture that I had into that space. So I'm like, okay, so I always had this like little piece of identity in the back of my head, like Laura, architect. And it never fully caught fire in the way that I thought it would. So I'm like, I'm very cautious about the concept of identity. Because if you have a fragile identity, then you can have a fragile sense of self, and a fragile sense of self leads to a fragile set of connections with other people. So I like thinking about myself as just like a happy problem solver type of human, and just like happy to be around other people and trying to understand the world around me and just whatever I can contribute. And if I can be a bit of a ray of sunshine, then that's the best thing I think I can bring. So when we met in line, it was so fun. It was like the girls like just started talking, and I like started to, well, I'm not used to this heat, so I'm like freezies. I like a pack of cooler of, I'm like, why would I bring cooler packs when I could bring freezies as cooler packs? And we just like giving freezies in line. And it was just really fun because like, you just put a smile on somebody's face with something that is so little and but so valuable at that time. So I'm always looking for like what are the little things that you can do that have a big impact as much as possible. And so that's how we connect. And I'm like trying to dole out freezies to your kids. And I've never been so grateful for such a long and slow line because the kids were all going on like the giant jolly jumper. So anyway, I'm like it's hard to pin down any particular identity. I love being an academic type. I'm like always trying to learn things. I like solving problems. My career matters to me, but more than anything, I know that if I attach all of my identity to being a mom, then that's what my daughter's going to grow up thinking that she has to do. And that the second she has another human that she has to care for, she loses herself completely. I'm like, I cannot model that for her. Like, I refuse. So yeah, that's
Oh my goodness. I love everything you said because, well, one, it's like I feel like when people ask me, like, what do you do or who are you? I'm like, I'm a pharmacist. So I have that like
you have to do the
attachment.
identity.
Yeah. And I feel like we do that. We attach ourselves well, I'm a mom of, 4, whatever it is, and it's like we don't necessarily think of ourselves outside of those. But I love You described yourself perfectly. You said, I'm a happy problem solver. And when you described the way that we met, you said, I wanted to make people happy. And you were actually solving a problem because it's so hot that you're giving them popsicles. So it's like you did exactly what you described when we met. Like that is who you are. I think that's incredible because I'm in this point in my life where I'm like really trying to go back to who I am and who I was and
Mm.
values and all that. And I feel like it's so hard
Oh yeah.
because we change throughout our lives. Like first we're a child, then a teenager, then we go to college and then we meet our spouse and have kids. And it's like we change through all these different identities throughout that process. And then like really figuring out like who is the person underneath all of that. But I love that you have that. Like, when did you, or how did you like think about that as who you wanted to be? Was it when your daughter was like before she was born? Is it when as she's growing up and you're thinking about who you want to be? Like, how did that evolve?
I have an exact answer for that.
Okay, I'm so
Beautiful questions. So, I've gone through a few big enough life changes that I equate them to having shed skin.
I love that. Like a
So
snake
yes,
or
exactly.
a chameleon,
It is
right?
all of those things.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, so I've a couple of times, and they all came with big moves. So I originally was from Sarnia, Ontario, and I recognized that that was a small pool and my growth was going to be very slow. And I was like, I can't thrive here. I have to live my best life. That is the mission. If you're like, if I'm an avatar in a video game, I was like, make this the best one. I want this to be the best run. I don't know if I get more of these. So like make this the best one. What does that look like for you?
How old were you at that point?
22. And I was
Okay.
like, I'm out. I love you guys. I will be 2 time zones away. So I moved to Calgary, and Calgary was booming at the time. It was like
Okay.
2 feet in a heartbeat, and you have a job. But if you have some oomph and some brains and some wherewithal to figure out the game, you're going to rocket yourself up. And I found myself on a rocket ship, it felt like. So Calgary
Wow.
and boom time was fabulous. It was basically like what Texas is kind of like all the time. but but it is a boom bust cycle. So it's a different story. We'll put that one to the side. So I spent about 11 years there, and I was like, I went full into career woman mode. I had founded my own company.
Wow.
I had a consultancy around the kind of specialized area. I have a bit of a one of one rule. I'm like, okay, I was like in my 20s and I wanted to do big things, but I'm competing against all of these men with like, they might have their MBA. I don't. Like they will have their PN stamp. Also don't have that. And ultimately, when people are hiring, there was a very old boys club, especially 20 years ago,
Yeah.
right? So I was like, I got to be the only game in town. And I've got to be undeniable. Like, it's not just being good, it's being like so good that they can't say no to you. And I love when people can't say no to me. It just makes me so 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 I was like, okay, so how do I work myself into that area? And I ended up getting to a point where I was doing like a full-time job and consulting on the side more, and I had my own company doing that. I was like,
Wow.
now I need more people. So I started like a consulting cooperative, and I started like bidding projects with clients and then bidding them internally with my group. And I had like a couple hundred consultants in my
Oh
group,
my
and I had maybe
goodness.
20 of them working at any given time. And I created this whole thing. And then it was time to get married and have babies. And I was like, I work like 90 hours a week. This is not gonna work. So it was at one of those like threshold
Incredible.
points where I was like, I either scale this more somehow in the very limited time as you're like actively pregnant and you're like, I have a clock on this.
Yeah.
And then of course the economy started, it was really slowing down at this point. This is 2016 at this point. So the
Okay.
economy wasn't great in Calgary. It was harder and harder to keep the lights on and the wheels turning. So made the decision that not only it was time to spin down this organization and finish off all my contracts and just like as things were kind of closing up anyway, the ones that were actively going, I just kind of kept on pause. But basically wound it down over the next like couple of years. But in that meantime, I was like, my husband works up in Fort McMurray. He was fly in, fly out. Like, so Vince was working on site, doing more like construction management work, and I was working so much. I'm like, bye, when are you back? Like,
Didn't
it's
even know you were married.
very different when you're, when you're single and or
Yeah.
you're married and you're both like just career people and stuff. When you got kids, game change.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, oh my God, I need help. So we moved to Vancouver Island to live near and then with, we bought an acreage. So I lived like downtown, an infill property. We used to bike to downtown Calgary. Like
Oh
it was super,
wow.
super close, very, like there was no yard. Like, what was I gonna do? Like I could have cut it with scissors. Like that was how much yard I had in this place. So then we moved to Vancouver Island, 5 acres, two homes, well water that was brown when we moved in. Like I was like this so little house on an acreage, like all of a
Yeah.
sudden all of these things that I was not equipped. It was a brand new environment. It was new people that I had known anymore. I was isolated. My husband still worked far away. And I was like, what have I done? I have just severed myself from whatever support network I did have. It wasn't like my mother-in-law just all of a sudden jumped in. She was working at the time. She lived about 40 minutes away. They were planning to move in to the other house on the property, but they didn't move in until I had like a 3, 4 month old. And so I just recall like all of this. It was super hard. This was one of my trials, emergency C-section, and everybody left me 9 days later. I was by myself after
Oh my
9 days in
goodness.
a place that was foreign and a house that didn't totally work. And here I am, like trying to feed firewood to a fire to keep literally the house warm with a tiny infant. And I was like, I just need to stay alive for 9 days until he comes back for me. I was like that close to
Oh
the
my
edge.
goodness.
And all I could remember whenever going back to our conversation, anytime it was like, who are you? What's your name? Like, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I would start the conversation with, I used to.
Oh
And I
yeah.
realized I'm like, my identity has not caught up with my reality.
Yeah.
So if I am currently explaining myself as a used to be state, or that my real self is somehow buried underneath what my reality is now, then those don't reconcile. And that was very painful.
Yeah.
So I was like, I used to do this, and I used to be important, and I used to have all these things, and I used to contribute to the world, but now I am a mess. Like, and it was like, now I dig in a garden while wearing a baby. Like, and it just, and I felt so out of touch with myself.
Yeah.
So, like, the long story short is if you go through severe enough changes a couple of times, and again, that's probably the reason why moving to Texas is I'm like, so much stuff rhymes with so many of the other things I've been through. This is fine. Like, but overall, it was like you have to find who your core self is, and it can't be
Mhm.
attached to a job because the job can disappear. And if it's a tied to a profession, then you can never let that profession go to become something else. So you gotta like really boil down to, if I changed everything, I moved, I changed cities, I decided that my profession was no longer fulfilling me anymore, who are you? And that's sometimes why I think like the mom of four is sometimes truer. I'm not a mom of four, too. I was like, honestly, like but yeah, the mom of X
Right.
and a wife of, those feel more solid because when you
Yeah.
move, those still hold true. Like you haven't stopped being a mom of how many children. So I can get why those ones are even more true than whatever job you have. Or a profession, like you can say I was educated as, like that's part of a thing that's immutable and is never going to change. But I'm very cautious of anything that holds me down from changing something for the better.
Hmm.
So your identity can be a cage.
I love that, because there was one line that really caught my attention of what you said, because I feel like, especially a lot of first-time moms, it's like you're right. Like we have these careers, we have these
Yeah.
pathways, and then boom, you get pregnant, you have this kid, and now you've got this kid attached to you, right?
Mhm.
And then what? It's like, do we go back to work? Do we feel guilty going back to work? Like, the mom guilt is there, and it's like I want to be there for my child, but at the same time, I want to be who I was before. And a lot of time it's hard to do that. And then we find ourselves questioning, like, who are we anyways? You know?
I have to change that one around in my brain because I realize that no matter what, I'm gonna feel guilty about something. Like
Yes.
if you're never gonna be able to be five people.
Yeah.
So I think about what do I want to model for them? And I don't think the version of motherhood that we're kind of fed is the right one, to be honest. It's the
Hmm.
you're venerated for doing everything yourself. But then
Yes.
you also have to do it with a smile on your face.
Yep.
And then you also have to stay in shape. And you also have to look good. And then your house has to look good. And then your kids need to have their hair brushed. And then somehow you need to be super educated too. And it's like, I can't do that. Like you should see me half the time. I'm wearing a headset, listening to audiobooks while folding laundry, while like trying to do squats. I'm like, I've done this. I have seriously done this, and there's still not enough because I'm like, oh, I should be strapping little mops to my feet and scrubbing the floor while I'm doing that. I have done all of these things because I am a happy problem solver. But there's still the right solution because then you should also rest. You should take your rest too. And I'm like, I don't know when I'm supposed to do all these things. So it's not possible. So what I
Yeah.
do is I'm like, anything that doesn't have to be me is not mine. Like if I can offload any of these things, if they are skills that do not require my direct attention, then they do not belong to me. I need to do the things that only I can do. So like I prioritize now because like part of what really when I was living in the Anchorage existence, I literally ruined my back. Like we were talking about, so like
Yeah.
I had to call 911 to pick me up off my bathroom floor.
Oh my
Like I have a
gosh.
ridiculous pain tolerance. Like you will hear a few weird things about what I share about myself that are like, now that doesn't sound right. And it wasn't right. And I shouldn't have been able to do that, but you build your pain tolerance over time. But I basically had to I was like, thank you, Costco, for giving me such enormous rolls of toilet paper that I just stash on my floor because I had to jam a couple of them underneath me to be able to reach my phone on my counter to call. And I called my mother-in-law first to come get my daughter, and then I called 911. And that's what moms do. Like right like in a nutshell right
Exactly.
there.
Yeah. Think of everyone else before yourself.
Yeah. So I
Exactly.
was like, I don't want to teach my children to wipe themselves out so badly that they've got nothing left to give or that
Yeah.
they become miserable. Like I remember, like I'm very sensitive, and I remember how much my mom did, but I didn't understand why she didn't seem very happy about a lot of it a lot of times. And I was like, oh, being a mom is hard. I don't understand why it's hard because I'm a kid and I don't understand any of what's going on here. And she's not talking to me about it because she doesn't want to complain, but you feel it.
Right. Oh yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to make my children afraid of the stage of life that I'm in now.
Yeah.
So I have to offload aggressively as much as I can that doesn't serve or doesn't make others happy. If I can get it done somewhere else, anywhere else, I'm doing it. Like some shortcuts. It's like I am buying the bagged salad, just saying. Like I am not sitting there chopping vegetables. That is not a good use of my energy.
Exactly. No, I think I mean, even in this day and age, it's like with multiple kids and multiple sports or activities or things or places. I mean, you hit it like we're expect in this version of motherhood we've been fed is that we do it all, but we don't take care of ourselves
No.
in that process. Like we are the last ones to like I get my hair done once a year. Like when is there time for us?
That's it.
Yeah.
There isn't. And like it's always trying to find like I have hacks for everything. Like how do I make everything streamlined, including hairstyle? But it's as much as you can do. And I'm like, I don't go grocery shopping anymore. I just won't. I'm like, I won't order the
Really?
groceries. It's something else that I'm also unafraid of paying a little bit to somebody else to do some of those things. Cause like there's obviously somebody who is making some money from that. So like be okay to release some of those activities. If there's 2 hours a week, like I have to fill up our groceries kind of twice a week. But that's
Yeah.
an hour each time. It's 2 hours a week that I'm just doing. I call those turning the crank activities. I'm like, I can't be the one turning the crank. I have to move the needle. Like that's to me. So I'm like, I can't outsource my push-ups, unfortunately. So like you got to do the exercise, like you just have to. No one can do that for you. So that hits the top of the pile. And also it's one of those things where it's like I can't do that for 8 hours a day. Maybe I could, but you're not gonna, there's diminishing returns to that. So you do your couple of hours a week and try to make it as highly valuable as possible. I don't do the wander around the gym wondering what I do next and posing in the mirror. You're there to ugly sweat. Like it is you're being nasty out of then you know you did something good. And then great. Okay, check mark. That really big thing that no one else could do for me is done. Listening to your kids,
Oh,
like
yeah.
making sure that they understand what's going on in your world too. It's like I want them to be able to get us too. Like parenting shouldn't be a perfunctory kind of activity. I want them to know me as a human. So like spending that time, get like share asking them to share with me, sharing with them. Like there's gonna be a lot of times where it's like get out of the house and go play with other kids. And you can have babysitters and you can have other people like influence them. It doesn't need to all be you. But so you can outsource a little bit of babysitting, but you can't outsource the connection as a parent. So I'm like that hits the top of the pile. At work, as much as possible, I am teaching others everything I possibly can. Unload, 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 because more stuff finds you. Always,
Hmm.
always, always. So I'm like, that's just kind of the mentality. And I find that like there's a happiness in that. So like releasing those things, like it's part of one of the reasons why I don't really cook much anymore. Like, unless it is fast and like I do my smoothies, I'm like, that is like I time myself. I'm like 90 seconds done. Yes, I did it. Rinse the like I rinse my blender and it's back on its spot. It doesn't even need to be perfect because I'm going to use it again tomorrow and I'll go through the dishwasher once a week. And I'm like, yes, this is high value intake for very little effort. But yeah, like those are the only ways. That's how I survive. Like all of these little things where I'm like, where do I only put my energy where it matters? And I can see it like my daughter is getting this. It's really awesome, actually.
That's awesome. I can relate, when so my kids are so close together that I had three under three. And
It's
so
amazing.
so, when my daughter, she's the oldest, when she saw me with the youngest, like I was always strapped with a baby to me. And so we went to the library this one time and they have these like little stations, like playstations of all like the little toys and things. And I have a picture of her, and she's literally like like pushing the push mower, has a baby like attached to her, and like picking up groceries at the same time. Like she at that early of an age of like 2 years old or no, she was almost three. Yeah, so between two and three, she already knew
She got it.
my role as the mom, is like doing it all, right? And so
That's
now
awesome.
but I see her doing the same things, repeating the pattern is that, she'll be at school and she'll win some sort of prize. And instead of getting it for herself, she gets it for her brothers. And I think that's super sweet and I love it. But I see her doing the same thing that I do. Like she takes care of everyone else but herself.
Mm.
And we keep having to tell her, like she's the last one in her class right now to get a locker and she's really upset about it.
Oh
And I was
no.
like, you really need to speak up. You need to talk to people. Like you're just like you're too polite and you're so sweet that you let everybody else get what they want and then she thinks of herself last. And so I feel like that's a terrible trait that I've passed down to her. But I love it as one that like you've recognized, and so I'm in the process of trying to help I don't know what the word is right now, but fix that
It's
basically.
advocate. Be your own advocate.
Yeah, like I really want her to not grow up the same way and think that she has to do everything and still be happy about it.
Mhm.
Like I love our lives. I love helping people. I think that's my my biggest thing is that I'm a big problem solver and I love helping people. And so, yeah, many people take advantage of that, you know?
And they're like, I have problems.
Yeah,
Can you
exactly.
solve
And
these?
it's like this lady, oh my gosh, this lady calls the other day. And so my business name is Creations by NLW. She got a package. She's from New Jersey and she left me a message and she was like, I got this package and it says something about like there's a default or something. And I opened it up and there's nothing in it. And I was like, okay, like who are you trying to call here? She was like, "Well, your number comes up when I type in this." And I was like, "Well, I'm Creations by NLW, but I'm not," because it was like Omni Creations or something, which oddly enough is like super close to where we live,
Oh, funny.
which is so funny. And so I like literally spent probably 20 minutes on the phone with her just researching like the phone number and where this place was. And then I finally gave that to her. I hope she got it solved. But that's how much it's like, oh, sure, I'll just help you. It's no big deal, you know? And in reality, that put me behind, you know? It's like I'm always thinking of other people and not necessarily myself. And I feel like that, even though I don't want to be selfish, I don't think it's selfish, but I think it's like having boundaries and knowing, you know, like our values and what we want to pass down to our children. But I love that you're already thinking about that. And that's been it because I think a lot of moms suffer with that.
Oh, 100%. That's what we're taught to do.
Yeah.
And it's I find that like that's not a bad trait as long as you also from the flip side being like, what if just like 1 hour a week was like, this is nail time and this is all about you and you're gonna tell us what you need and we'll do a thing. And like even if it's just 1 hour a week where you're like, I come first. Like
Yeah.
that could be enough. I don't know. But I mean, like I get a lot of joy from problem solving. Like I'm hearing a thing and I'm like, how can I help make a little tweak somewhere that's gonna make like this amazing little girl's life just like so much like there's so much value in that. And I'm like, I just love those like opportunities to do something small that creates something big. And I'm like, if those fill you with joy, then they give more than they take. And
Yeah.
that's to me like only you know the answer to that, right? So like I had a painting that I did on my wall back in an old place, and I'm sure I lost it at some point. But it was like, take all you need, it was yours, but give more than you take and take no more than you need. And I feel like that is a really important philosophy that if everybody just did that, like
Mhm.
first, make sure you're whole, like make sure you're
Yes.
full. And then with that, figure out how you do more than what you
Mhm.
ever took. Like it was, my dad had a really lovely philosophy. He's like, always do more than what you feel is your fair share, because there's always going to be invisible work that somebody else has done that you don't see. And if everybody thinks that they've done 75%, they've probably only ever done 50%. You barely get by. So I
Wow.
was like, that's amazing. And I've just always kind of held that where I'm like, just
Mhm.
go the extra mile further. And like when I'm at work, I'm like, I do a lot of help between organized, like the between functional groups.
Mhm.
And I noticed that everybody's like, they're really good at doing their own job for
Yes.
themselves,
Yeah.
but it's where that work is owed to somebody else. A lot of times that falls short. This group
Mhm.
doesn't understand what this group is doing. And I say, I'm like, sometimes you end up with the like the Sistine Chapel kind of like this kind of thing, instead of we just need like the Viking handshake where we do one of these where it's like, how do I make sure that there is traction? How do I make sure that there's some significant overlap so that we have that strength?
Mhm.
And I'm like, I'm just aware of that all over the place. Like, I feel like men are really good at taking a problem and going deeper, 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 and getting like really focused in this one little thing. But women are naturally connective tissue. And if we minimize the value of that connective tissue, then we get stretched. And I feel like that's kind of like as the world seems to polarize a little bit, that connective tissue is getting a lot of strain. So I really love to see like more community. And community is
Yes.
really valuable. That used to be like the sisterhood where everybody was like looking out for each other's kids, like mom club we were talking
Right.
about, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, like if everybody's just kind of pulling for each other just a little bit, then we all of a sudden find that our capacity isn't so strained.
Yeah, I know. I think that's one of the struggles, right? It's like growing up. with our kids, especially for us, like we've moved schools and organizations and all that. And I feel like it's hard because you meet these people and you're like friends, like you're friends with the moms while you're there, but then
Yeah,
it's like when the connection breaks, there's no real true connection there.
totally.
And so it's like with all the different changes that happen, I'm sure for you too, like moving countries, it's like you have this core friends. And then once something happens, like we had these neighbors we thought were like super close. And then all of a sudden they moved. And it was like, oh, I guess we weren't super close.
Aw,
And
yeah.
so I feel like a lot of that, it's hard. It's hard to find good people where you can connect and then not only, are your kids in the same thing or maybe they're not in the same thing, but you continue to have those friendships and build and then look after each other.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people are really strained on their capacity, right?
Yes.
So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's kind of the if you're not there, then you're gone from my brain. And I don't think anybody's trying to be bad or selfish or anything like that, but
Right.
I feel like overall stress does weird things to people. And if moving is as stressful on everybody as I think it can be, and I don't know, I think I've gotten okay at it. But it's hard on a lot of people, and then they just focus all of their energy. And I find that what's really interesting is learn a philosophy about kind of like connecting and making friends with people. It's not about being interesting, it's about being interested.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if you can genuinely be interested in other people, then and ultimately like people are like, what if they don't like me? It's like people like them.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
don't worry about what people's perception of you is. Put your energy into getting to know that person and then appreciating that person. You will make friends. Like, it happens. But just ultimately, it's being a little bit more like that. The concept of outgoing isn't just being like in your face. Hey, like, it's more of like, okay, I we got to know that like Nella's in diving and Alona's in gymnastics, and both of them wanted to be on the giant like was it a giant jolly jumper and they're practicing different things. I'm like, amazing, tell me more about diving, like I want to learn. And you just see people light up and I'm like, that's super interesting, and wouldn't have learned anything if I babbled about myself. Like that
Yeah.
doesn't give me anything. But by learning about more about what diving is all about, I'm like, that's really cool. That is a world that I am not exposed to. So yeah, just be interested and recognize that like the people around you, if you want to be friends with somebody, like them. You don't need to worry about them liking you. You're just going to change yourself or act weird or something like that. And people will be like, okay, well, they're friends like that person's odd, but at least our kids are getting along. Like, and it's a lot of times is people are just worried about being liked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, we've gone over a lot so far. I didn't even realize. Um,
I
let
wrecked your
me
order.
no, no, I like just going off and seeing where the conversation
Tangents.
flows. Um, but I love how your different perspective in it. I think um, what was like one of the before you guys decided you wanted to move here, what was the biggest factor, like, that you had to think about when you guys were trying to move here? What was the biggest thing that you're like, "Oh my gosh," you know, that made you decide, "Yes, 100% we wanna move?"
A lot of it was how hard we were working where we were in Canada and not feeling like it was getting us as far ahead as we would have liked. So that was really like we are hard workers. We excel at the things that we do. It matters to me that I'm like, if I'm going to put my time here, it needs to be like the things that only I can do. If I'm a person turning the crank kind of thing, that
Mhm.
just it kills my energy, and you can just spin your tires in mud and not get anywhere. And I was thinking like the thought processes that we were going through were starting to scare me. So me and the friends of mine, like we all talk about like how are we going to make sure our kids are able to buy homes?
Yeah.
Like we were like, if I just buy a big enough house now, maybe they can live with us forever. Or like I have enough acreage because like the place that we had bought in Calgary after we moved away from Vancouver Island and came back to Calgary, because it was again it was better economically and we're going to be able to be together as a family. So like a lot of the values were Vince was having to travel a lot when we lived on the island. We came back to Calgary so that we could sleep in the same house every single night. And that was like so one of those things with coming down here was that is number one. All of the family together as much as possible, minimize the travel requirement, and being apart. So that was a huge piece. The next one was being able to thrive. Was that, this is a really amazing place for being able to, I wouldn't even just say get ahead, but like if you have the energy to push, you should get somewhere. Like it's as simple as that. So when in an economy in Canada where it's suffering and it has been for a little while, and I can see us kind of all getting in our own way a little bit in in a lot of ways, and it means that you're not greenlighting projects. And if you're not like greenlighting projects, then money isn't flowing. And if money isn't flowing, we noticed that the cost of living was going up, but everybody was taking pay cuts,
Oh,
and that's a
wow.
terrifying trajectory. So I'm like, I want to take my energy somewhere that really appreciates it and that we can show our kids like now. And now instead of worrying about how do I get a big enough house so that my kids can live with me forever and that they never have to worry about home ownership, it's more of a like, okay, well, there's educational opportunities here. Like you'd be able to get into some really amazing universities if we look at this track. And now there's opportunities for you to learn and grow. And what would I rather have for my kids? An opportunity for me to shelter them or an opportunity for them to plant themselves in a rich environment? And so that was really what made us make the change. We were like, this is somewhere where we will see traction. Like, yeah. And we were willing to go through all kinds of craziness because
Oh my
the
gosh.
visas and the
It's
basically
crazy.
that lack of identity again, that was hard again. I
Yeah.
was like, you get zero credit. Like I had such good credit in Canada. Like fabulous. Like like yeah, how do you get 2 points off of perfect and then to go to nothing? Like just so it was so crazy. And then
Yeah.
even just starting off getting a new job and they're sponsoring you for the visa. However, put in your social security number. I'm like, I don't have one of those yet. Like, you can have a Canadian number that means nothing to you, but it fills the right number of digits. So it's just all these little things and one thing after another of like you can't get your driver's license until like you brought your vehicle's registration, but your vehicle's registration is attached to like it was just thank goodness I'm a happy problem solver.
Yes. My goodness. I mean, how did you keep it all together while you're doing all of this, going through the move with the kids, you know? I mean, I'm sure there were days where you're just, they're upset, you're upset, it's not home, you know.
Yeah. A lot of it is that feeling of agency. Like we chose this. Nobody forced us into anything. So this is a choice that we went down. The next one is I call it my puzzle philosophy, where I'm like, how many pieces of a puzzle is this? And how many phone calls is this? So like when we went down this road and we're like, okay, we're doing it, I was like, this feels like about 1,000 phone call problem. I was like, there's going to be a lot of phone calls I got to make. And it was like everything from like, I'm calling, Volkswagen to get a letter of compliance for our
Oh my
vehicle. And
gosh.
like, I'm calling, Customs and Border Patrol to like understand how to fill out these documents. And I'm calling like lawyers for the visas. And I'm calling like, and you're just making phone call after phone call after phone call. I'm like, if I just look at it as like, if 1,000 phone calls made your dreams come true, would you do it? Like just face noise. Like it's not that hard. So when you start putting it in like terms like that, that and another thing that I worked with my daughter on, and I come up with all these little philosophies and stuff. I should write all these down.
You should.
I call them my 5 frustrations. So when we started doing like like those perler beads.
Yeah.
Okay, so give that to a 3-year-old and watch them cry because you get further and then you knock them over and you're like, oh, right? Okay, I didn't even see that.
I
That's
know,
awesome.
yeah.
So, so like you put your perler beads together and then you knock them over and you're mad. And then you do it again and you knock it over and you're mad. And I was like, well, you have to have your 5 frustrations. And I just like made it up on the fly and called it a thing. I was like, this is a thing now. No one knows. Like, so anyway, I was like, your frustrations are you just expect anytime you start a thing, just expect to be frustrated a couple of times. if you expect it and you count them,
Yeah,
you sometimes they'll hear me and I'll like you curse or something like that. And I'll just call it a number. That was one. Like it's just like you kind of laugh it off and you're like, I was expecting to be frustrated by this activity, but I'm willing to go through it anyway because the end result is worth it. You've now ironed your perler bead activity and it's there forever. But you sometimes like those little frustrations can stop you from doing something, and that's why inertia is
sure.
so powerful, because people would rather like they see the challenge or like that feels too big, and they don't either see it as like it's just a puzzle or it's just a bunch of phone calls like that it breaks it down into like a number of small activities, and then it becomes like how many problems can I solve in a day? I solved a big one today, or I solved 5 little ones, or and then you just get excited about like which things am I going to tackle today. So like when I'm training people underneath my team or something like that, they always used to ask me like what how do I manage my time? I'm like, I don't. I manage my priorities. It's like if I can have 3 things done in a day that move the needle, then like if you go for a coffee afterwards, you've still done an amazing job and you've done way more than if you just like meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting and got nothing done.
Hmm.
So it's like I just manage the priorities and I try to sequence them of like, what is my next roadblock? How do I remove it? Go on to the next. And when you need a break, take a break. Because if you're no longer a happy problem solver, you're going to unhappily make more problems for yourself. We were grumpy on the phone. Like it was the most ridiculous thing how I finally got one of our vehicles imported. I just I was just calling around to like Customs and Border Patrol people who like didn't even work at the right. I'm like I was like I've got this and this and this and this and this. Will you be able to help me? And there's this one fellow. I was at like a private airport eventually, and he was able to help me because I had so much documentation by this point, and he was able to like validate because he had like again a unique skill set with doing imports, but through air freight.
Hmm.
I'm like it's like, I'm gonna come back and bring you ice cream. I sat down, I got to learn more about how it all works
Yeah.
just by like happy can you help me like not asking anybody to do anything outside of their comfort zone because that's not okay. I'm not asking for any special favors, but like tell me how I can move this one further because like it was a lot of trips to like unfruitful trips to the tax office that they're like, no, you're missing this one thing, and then I go and get that one thing. No, now you're missing this next thing. I'm like, this is a really great use of my time. So yeah, it was just and ultimately like I really believe in stoicism. Like it's a really interesting philosophy that helps you see what you can control and what you can't control, and recognizing that most of your suffering happens in your own mind.
I love that. I was just talking to a a pharmacist the other day, and she was saying like, she wanted to feel like that she was gosh, I want to use the same words, but she was like, "Oh, she was talking to another friend and they're like, "I feel terrific in my life right now." And she was like, "I want to feel terrific in my life." And I was like, "Well, what does that look like to you?" She was like, "I don't know. I just want to feel like I'm in control." And she's like, like I go to these meetings and I know the meeting's going to trigger me, it's going to frustrate me." And it's like, "But you have that mindset already. You're already
You're
setting yourself
bringing
up
it.
for failure." So it's like I love the mindset piece because I tell my kids that all the time. They're like, "Oh, mommy, this is gonna be like," the other day, the second day of school, my daughter was like, "Oh, I hope this day goes better than the first." I'm like, "Well, you're like, you need to already think that it is. It's going to be great because it's like, that
Yeah.
it's gonna be great. But if you go in there with any doubts or any concerns or any mindset like that it isn't going to be good, it's not going to be." And I told my husband that too because he just lost his coworker and, not like lost, but
But
like
still, a person
they
moved
left.
on or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Still sad.
he's like, "This is gonna totally suck." And I was like, "It's like, if you have that mentality, it
It
will."
will.
I was like, "But you have to think about it this way, like the negativity in the office is gone.
Mm.
So how much more happier are you going to be when that person who's bringing in all of this drama is gone?" And it's like, you just gotta think about the positive sides of things, and, like, there's always a twist that you can do, and I feel like that's how I try to look at things instead of getting, like, so mad and frustrated about it, it's like, "Okay, let me see the other side of things, like, how can I make this
Mhm.
a positive spin?" and go in it with a different mindset because I don't want it to like I don't want my day to be unhappy. I just
100%.
yeah.
I think actually, and you just like launched something in my brain. I was like, I try to tell the kids, I'm like, everybody thinks gratitude is for somebody else. Gratitude's for you.
Yeah.
Like, gratitude is the gift you give yourself because you could be like, oh, thanks. Or you could be like, wow, this really helped my day along, or like you just did something for me. I'm so grateful. Like, thank you. And it builds up your own feeling of like, so like you could instead of being like, oh, I really hope that today's better, it's like, wow, I wonder how I'm going to make today better. And I'm grateful that I get another day. And I get another opportunity to make today a better day than yesterday. Like that's it just that's gratitude and kind of hidden in different language. So I'm like, I'm always looking for how can you change the wording around. Like the I wonder how is kind of like it's a certainty that also allows for things to happen. Because like we have remarkably little control. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
love control. Control's awesome. Like if you have actual control over things, I figure I have control over my emotions in my car, and that's about it.
But do you have over your emotions? A lot of people suffer that where they're like, I can't control it.
Oh, I'd like to think so, but probably not too. I mean, like, you know more about all the hormones than I do.
Oh man, I don't know what's going on. Like recently, I just start crying and I'm like, what is going on? Like I grew up not crying and now it's just like I see a picture of my kids or I think about a moment and it's like the tears fall. I'm like, why am I crying? This is terrible.
Oh, like letting it out. It's good. It's good.
I guess I don't know. I'm like, so, like even movies. I never cried in movies, never. And oh my gosh, I'm just like, I was on the plane a couple weeks ago and I watched this movie which was phenomenal. It's called 500 Miles. Yes, and oh my
I
gosh,
need to watch that now.
it oh gosh, by the end of it I was like in like sobbing in tears. Of course, I'm like in the middle seat and I don't have any Kleenex. So I'm like, oh gosh, I need to go to the bathroom.
That's so good though. I mean, it's really funny. So again, also grew up where it's like emotions can kind of like take a back
Yeah.
seat. They're useless. But I believe firmly, and I couldn't tell you where I heard this, but it rings so true to me, and I tell everybody, that we're not thinking machines that feel. We are feeling machines that think.
Oh, I
And
like
is
that.
really, really powerful mindset, especially like anywhere, like whether you're talking with kids, whether you're in business, like people make decisions with their feelings, and there is actual like studies and proof around this now that if you were to damage like the part of a person's brain that is emotion based, they lose the ability to make decisions. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
need to go and find that study and we'll have to talk about it some more later or something because it
Yeah.
is absolutely wild to me where it's like you could ask them chicken or fish and they'll be like, I don't know. And be like, do you like chicken? I don't know. Do you like fish? I don't know.
Wow.
Like you just and that's a feeling. You are making decisions with your feelings. And it could be mathematical. It could be like, would you prefer to make $1,000 by doing this, or would you prefer to make $10,000 by doing this? I don't know. Like this is like the studies were around like highly intelligent business people who'd had like a specific tumors thing removed. It was very narrow. And the study just absolutely blows my brain out. Like I can't believe that emotions are actually how we make decisions. So I like to share like the more in touch you are with your feelings,
Yeah.
likely the better decision maker you are. Like if you think about it.
I feel like that, when you talked about if you took away the emotional part, you wouldn't be able to make these decisions. I feel like some moms are there, like they're so numb because like they're not able to feel anymore. They've like just overdone themselves. And
Yeah,
so they can't make those
they're
decisions.
overstimulated.
Yeah. And they're like, what? I don't even know what to do. Like, I'm just so,
Decision fatigue is real.
yes,
When your
yeah,
kids need you to make all of the decisions for them,
yes.
and then you're just trying like autopilot is really a beautiful thing though. Like if you can make some decisions easy for yourself, do it. Like I'm a very boring
Oh,
eater.
yeah.
Like it's salad and protein, and I don't care which. Like just like please, if I could just make that 80% of my diet, and I know that if I don't have food in, I'll make a smoothie. That hits my 80% mark, and then anything else can be like wandering blindly in my pantry and putting something into my face. And I know that, like, okay, I'm good now. That required very little decision making. And now I
Yeah.
think about the kids. And as long as they get some veggies in, again, the rest I kind of don't care about. It's like, it's really hard because we're all told, like, and then you prepare this perfect meal, and then the kids don't eat that meal, and then what? And do I get mad at them? Do I not get like, or do I
Yeah.
just let them pass? Or do I, do I let them have the ice cream or do I not? Am I a good parent? And like, and all, those are all decisions. If you're just deciding whether or not to beat yourself up, that's still a decision. Like, we
Yeah.
just get full of, do I do the laundry or do I get the kids to bed on time? Or do I read a couple of books or do I take like to the kids or do I take a break for once and let them watch TV for another 20 minutes before putting them down? Do they need to have a bath every night? Do they not? Like, just a million decisions that nobody is ever verbalizing because they
Hmm.
all float through our brains and we ask them to ourselves at least 3 or 4 times before we allow anything to land. And then we wonder why moms are fried and yell a little bit. Like, yeah. Like, you need to like, it's okay. Like, I just want to make a sign for moms. Hey, moms, you're great. It's okay.
I know. That's why it's like I made this command center for myself because I was so sick and tired of my husband asking me all the time, like, who's gonna drive the kids? Where, like, what activities do we have this afternoon? What'd you get out for dinner? What are we having for dinner? I was like, oh my God, I don't want to make any of the decisions. Can you just like look at the schedule and figure it out? And so I just made this landing page with all the things on it. And then it shows our dinner every night. So I didn't have to make the decision. I was like, the command center says this. So I'm going to get this out for dinner and I'm not even going to think about it because I was so sick and tired of
Oh,
making like
yeah.
all those decisions plus every other
You
million
have
of
to make
decisions.
a command center.
I know.
That's awesome. The language
Yeah, but I
is so.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like that's every mom. That's why they're always like, I don't know how moms survive, I get asked that all the time, like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't know. I just go, but there's times where it's like I can't go anymore. I like when we take a vacation, we come back, I'm like, I don't want the life I had before I went on vacation, and so then it's like I want to refresh, I want to restart, and it's hard to
Traveling with
do.
kids isn't a vacation. It's
I
just
know.
momming with less support system. Like, your house is a operational support structure. Like,
Yeah.
if you think about it, it's like I got all the food in here, the kids' beds are already made, like they've got all of their stuff here. That is structural operational support that people don't call that. They just call it their house. Like, but then you're supposed to go on vacation and now you don't know any of the other places. All of the decisions are new, net new decisions to make.
Hmm.
And then you got to help everybody pack up a subset of their operational utility structure. And now you get to call that fun too while spending more money. Yay!
I know, and it's like, and then like bedtimes are out the window, and then
It's like,
you're like, I
and
need a vacation for my vacation.
so, like, I told Vince, I'm like, I think for the next little while, if we're gonna do any vacations, they might be cruises. If
Yes.
somebody else has figured out, I need somebody else to have created that support structure, and we might go and do a couple of like tours at some places. But I need that to not all land on me. That's why camping sounds like the worst thing ever.
Oh my gosh, no,
Like,
never, never.
no, I'm
Mm-mm.
like, I admire people who camp, and my parents took us camping, and I always, again, it was another scenario. I'm like, why is my mom not happy at this? Because she had to basically like flat pack IKEA style our entire house into this little tent trailer where it's like, and now instead of having a kitchen that works and like I get to wash the dishes in a bucket of water I had to carry myself from the camp shop or whatever because it didn't all have like running water and all that stuff then. And I was like, this all sounds like just so much more work to try and have fun. And I remember them and we totally had fun as kids. Like, my sister and I had a blast
The
um,
kids always have fun.
every time.
It's the adults, and it's not even the dads. Like the dads are just there, I feel like most of the time. Like I,
Well, they get to look at the stars. Oh, honey, go
yeah.
sit down. You get 5 minutes and the kid needs something from you.
It's like,
Oh,
thanks,
I'm
mom
so
and dad, for
relaxed.
the vacation. It's like, well, you can thank mom because mom did it
Mom did
all.
it all.
Mom planned it all. Mom did it all. Mom packed all it all.
Dad may have done some grilling. My dad sacrificed some eyebrows once. That was awesome. Don't try and burn wet wood while giving it propane or what is it?
Oh my
Kerosene or something,
gosh.
just
Yes.
camp fuel or something like that. That was wild.
Yes. Oh wow.
But yeah, all of that. I was just like, I don't mind saying no to some stuff. Like, I'm gonna just nope the things that are gonna make me miserable because no one's gonna enjoy themselves.
Yeah, no, you couldn't pay me to do any of that. Well, I think we should probably wrap things up. I know we've talked a lot, but I just wanted to say I've really appreciated our friendship. Which started off as like, we were at the 4th of July, you were in line, and I was like just checking in on the kids, and then it was like the conversation started. And it was so good because it's like I said, most of the moms that I know, it's like it's because we're our kids are in a sport or a class or something. And this relationship, even though like our kids were together, it was like more of like we're on the same page. We
Yeah,
had so many things similar. I felt like our personalities really
we have so much in common. It's wild.
yes, I know. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. And same with our husbands. Like I thought like they would really mesh well. And so yeah, so I've really appreciated the friendship. It's been, I felt like kind
Feels
of
like we've been friends a lot longer.
it does, yes. And it's almost like the same emotions that I felt like when I met Ed for the very first time. When we met, like we were put on a blind date. And by the end of it, I was like, I don't really know. Like, I don't think he's into me, whatever. So I'm just gonna go home and no big deal. But then he drove me home and we went to IHOP and we spent because we were both hungry, although we didn't eat anything there. And we had so much in common that it was like, I don't want it to end. And so we went to IHOP at like 4 o'clock in the morning. He drove me home. And then on his way home, I like texted him. I'm like, hey, let's go to lunch. And it was almost like he's like, yeah, that sounds great, but can we like at least sleep first, And it was like when we met you guys, I was so excited. It's like
We're like,
I
let's go boating the next
I
day. It
know.
was
It's
so
like,
good. I'm like,
hey,
I can't wait.
what are you guys doing? And it's like almost like I felt like, oh my gosh, are we scaring them? They're like, we've just met these new people and now they're inviting us like all these different places. But it was like that same feeling, like we had so much in common and like you, your
I'm so
husband, your
glad you
kids.
did.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't want it to end. Like, I feel like this is a true friendship, not like just through our kids. And our kids don't even do anything together, like they're not in the same school, they're not in the same sports, nothing, And so I feel like this is a true friend, like mom
Same.
friendship versus like a forced friendship because of our kids.
Totally. No, and I had the same thing when I was like, anytime I connected with other people where you're like, all of our kids, if the only, I said before, I was like, if the only thing we have in common is that we made humans at the same time, that's not good enough. I have to say, I'm like, there's billions of people on the planet. Like, spend your time and be open when you
Mhm.
meet the people that you connect with more. Because like you can spend your time for sure.
Right.
Like you
Oh,
can
yeah.
put and so like I've had other scenarios where like my daughter made friends with another friend, but we've steered her in the direction of like we connect with the parents, the like our little guy is happy hanging out too. Like this is a better mesh. Let's spend more time where everybody is having a better connection. And it's
Yeah.
really just being like as conscious with your time as you possibly can because you only get one. And this exact moment is happening once, and that is all that I know of. Like, so it's like spend it carefully and spend it with people that you connect with and enjoy, and that like you can give to, and they appreciate, and that they just by being themselves give back to you, and you all feel better. I always gauge like how do you feel on the ride home,
Yes.
right? Like
Yeah.
that's the real test.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that was fun, but like, wow, that was so like such a waste of our time, Then it's like, okay, then
It's like I want my Saturday back. If you like want your
yes.
Saturday back, you need to not do that
Yes.
again.
You're like, that was good that one time. Let's not do it again.
Meanwhile, it's like same time next week.
I know.
That's amazing. This
Yes.
is so much fun. You're doing such a great job.
Oh, well, thank you. I really appreciate you on the show. I guess we'll go ahead and we'll end it. What is one, like, so we can end it on a good note? not that the whole thing hasn't been great, but like one advice you want to give to our moms out there who are listening, where it's like, I mean, I think the majority of this episode, we've really talked about like identity and identifying like who you are besides the mom, the wife, the career, and how to really protect that. So I guess what is one thing you want to leave our audience with?
Well, you're talking in a very additive fashion of like, who are you? And you can just keep adding things to that. And sometimes by adding and adding and adding, you can also kind of leave behind something that was really real by just having too much other stuff. So I would say it's almost just as important to say who you're not. And
Yes.
like, I'm not, by saying you're not something, and like, I will happily say, I'm like, I am not a cook. I can cook. I can make totally edible food. Um, but I also know moms who are like so good, and I would rather like bring a thing or a bottle of wine or something like that and be like, how do I celebrate the thing that you truly are by also celebrating the thing that I'm not? Because if you try to be something that everybody else is as much, you're losing a piece of yourself that you could have been bringing instead. So like part of your identity and part of all of that is being okay with the things that you're not and just hold those proud too. Like
I love that because like in business, you want to attract customers, but you also want to repel. Like you do
yes.
not want to attract every single person because not every single
It
person.
dilutes you to a point of not having an identity at all.
Right.
You don't have a
Yes.
brand if you're like my target customer is everybody. Ugh.
Right. No, I love that, but I've never thought about that as like a mom. But you're right. Like, you want to think like I am not somebody that's gonna lie to your face or be fake. Like I am not somebody that, like has to have like the fancy lifestyle and portray it out to the world. Like I don't that doesn't matter to me, but true, genuine people matter and that's who I
Yes.
strive to be. And so that's why like I love the way that you put that spin on there for sure.
It's okay to say no.
That is the biggest thing of all this.
Exclamation point we end on.
Yes.
Say no to something this week. Tell us what
Yes.
it was.
Yes, well, we will end on that. So your homework is to say no to something, or I am not this week.
So that's saying yes to something else.
Yes, I love it.